Hey guys, welcome back after all this time of me taking this hiatus. To those of you who are new to my channel, I might be a little bit confusing. If so, watch the video that I made before this. I have not made a video in over a month now, for good reasons. And despite taking a break from YouTube, I'm still very busy. I'm still going through a lot. I'm still processing. However, I have received 2 requested videos that are very good topics. So I'm I'm taking a break from my break to make these videos for you guys and to just kind of ease my way back into the YouTube sphere. Very slowly though, because as I said, I still am very busy. I work full time, and this time of the year especially is very hectic. So I'm going to fit as many videos as I can until the end of December. I'm going to make peace with however many videos that is. And come January, though, I am expecting to have a lot of free time on my hands. I'm hoping, at least. And if that is the case, then you will see me much more often. So if you were here before this hiatus, thank you so much for subscribing and hanging on while I took time to myself. And let's get to the topic of the video. So today is going to be a very relaxed day. I've made myself some tea. I suggest you take a breather for yourself if you haven't recently, and listen to kind of just this vlog. This is a very actually personal video. I don't usually talk a lot about myself in this channel because I feel like it's me just kind of like wanting to share my interests, but in a way that is more of a service to this community, whatever this community is becoming, and to I try to like make presentations that it's not just me expressing myself, but it's like an insight that someone out there can use in the way that they want to. So this is a really unique requested video because it's about how I became a numerologist, or how I got into this numerology stuff. And the person who requested it, I'm going to call Kaylin. I don't know if that's how I should be pronouncing it, but it's capital K, capital L, YNN. But when I first read it, I said Clin, but that doesn't make any sense. So, Kaylin, thank you so much for requesting this video, and I hope that this is just a relaxing, interesting kind of story time type of video for you guys. So, I have a cousin that I'm very close to. She's almost like my best friend slash sister slash mom in some respects, and every summer my whole life I try to go and visit her, and this was pretty consistent my whole life. When I was a kid and then getting older, I would take at least a week, and go and see her. And one week when I was there, we found ourselves in a Barnes & Noble, which was not strange because I'm a bookworm. And Jen, my cousin, came across a numerology book. And I wasn't drawn to this numerology book at all. She showed it to me. I wasn't so impressed. I was like, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's interesting, but it's not really something I'd spend money on. To be frank, I was not crazy about it. Numerology wasn't something that I would attack or be against, but it wasn't something that I was interested in. So I did not want to get the book, but my cousin kept insisting, like, I know you'd be good at this, I know you'd like this. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy you this book. We're going to read it when we get home. We're going to do each other's charts, and it's going to be a good time. And that's what happened. We got back I remember the day very vividly. It's strange. It's honestly strange how well I remember the day. It's just some random day 10 years ago. That's how long I've been studying numerology now, for 10 years. And I remember sitting down, and of course, the first thing that you do when you discover something like this is you do your own chart. You do your own stuff. So I found my life path number. I was looking, I did all my other numbers as well. And then I immediately went to the description and read my life path number. And it just did not sound like me. It was not resonating at all. And so again, like it was in the beginning, it was kind of another, oh, I'm not really interested in this. It's kind of whatever. I mean, I didn't spend money on the book, and I was having a good time with my cousin, so at the end of the day, it didn't really matter to me. But then, I did the chart of everyone I know. I did my siblings, I did my friends, and I found it all to just be so oddly accurate. And I just immediately started to see patterns. It's weird. I saw patterns, and I saw how they could be that number beyond the description as well. And I loved this. As someone who always wants to know why, this was extremely interesting to me. I'm the kind of person I always need to know why something is the way it is, why a person is the way that they are. And so immediately I thought that this would be a really cool tool in my repertoire. I wanted to learn it. Then I wanted to learn it not to understand myself, but to understand other people. And by the way, in case you're curious, the book is by Glynis McCants, so look her up. I think it's called Glynis Has Your Number. And I still have it today, and I still use it as a reference, although I think I've gotten from it what I could. The thing that book did for me the most was just try to figure out how to get the numbers. It does that very well. It explains it It explains it in a very simplistic way. So for someone like me to understand it, you can understand it too if you want to learn numerology. And anyway, back to the story. Before I kind of continue onward for years after this, I just want to say that because of this experience, because of pursuing numerology, despite, first of all, not being quite interested in it and not really resonating with my own chart, numerology has been an extremely honest pursuit for me. And I think that's what makes me different from other readers, like other astrologers, for example, not just numerology. I think that most readers are brought into their world because they received their own reading that's made them understand themselves in such a way that it inspired them to go into it, to learn more. I think that's probably a very common story for people like me. Because I had a very different experience, I think that makes my practice very unique, and I think that's why I do a lot of work with the shadow. If you've watched my other videos on the life path numbers, I always talk about the shadow. It's not always just positive, 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 this is who you are, period, end of story, black and white. It's always me being very honest, like, okay, this is how people tend to be with this number. Here's your potential. That's my positive part. I'm like, here's your potential. This is what I've seen, however, with my eyes, living in a world as a human, how this can go awry. How you won't fulfill your potential just because of these environmental circumstances that you find yourself in, and then eventually end up expressing through your shadow self rather than your true self. So if you've watched my videos, you already are aware of how I pursue that in each reading and each number. I don't know that every reader is like that, though. I think that, at least from what I've seen, which is obviously not everything, this is a generalization, Most readers don't put enough, I think, emphasis on acknowledging the shadow and having that be the actual key to understanding yourself and how to overcome these obstacles that we face, both within ourselves and outside of ourselves. On a side note, just if you're wondering like what the deal was with my chart not sounding accurate to me, after further study and more like understanding myself and just kind of like developing as a person, I can see why that wasn't accurate. That's a long story though. That's another video because there's, like, as I've explained in my other videos, there's lots of reasons why when you receive your reading, it doesn't really resonate with you. In my personal life, there are several instances that come up as to why. When I sat down that first day and I read my chart, it wasn't true. And but like I said, this has made me a different reader, and so because of that, I actually appreciate this experience. I think I can see it in a way that is a little bit more realistic, is a little bit more accurate, and takes other things into account that I have to be sensitive to and intuitive to when I'm giving a reading or doing a reading, sitting down with a person. And those shades of understanding really develop my practice, my very unique practice, which I know will benefit people who are meant to find me. So that's how I feel about that. If you want me to explain why my chart wasn't accurate, like the reasons in my personal life as to why that happened, I would love to, but that's, like I said, another video. So moving on. After that first day and many years after of discovering that book, doing everyone's chart, many years of reading this material and doing people's charts, I began to develop an encyclopedia of people in my brain that I know very intimately. And so every time I sit down and do a reading with someone, I'm not just talking about stuff that I read from a text. Like, this is a person that I've had in my life on a very, very deep level. And then after that, kind of as like the cherry on top, so to speak, I have my practice and the things that I come across, patterns that I come across in people who are willing to share with me their innermost driving forces, if that makes any sense, or their innermost feelings, or their innermost whatever that is relevant to that particular number, to that particular reading for that person. And so if you do receive a reading from me, it is the best gift to give me your honest opinion, to share, information with me, like, when you said this was true because of X, Y, and Z, or when you said this wasn't true because this is what I'm going through, or this is how I am, and this is how I feel about that. That input is what allows me to build away from that foundation into things that are more complex, that I can then take to the next person who has your same life path and say, you know what, I knew a 2 life path who was struggling with this mental illness because this is what happened in their life, and then this is, this was the chain of events that happened afterwards. And this is what they decided to do about it, and doing your report, this is what this reminded me of. And then I relay that information to the person. And I've done that in the past, and I have helped people this way. So think about that. When you're doing a reading with me, you're also helping another person, essentially. And so throughout this practice, I've developed this encyclopedia, I've developed this method, and I've also developed what I call the staircase method of remembering all this information, because my conscious self is not physically able to carry around all this information off the top of my head at an instant. This is not memorization, people. Like, this is a very case by case situation that I do. So the way that I work through this is a staircase method. For example, okay, 8 life path. I open my repertoire of people who are 8 life paths that I've known intimately in my life. I start with that. Something intuitively based on the chart that I'm looking at and the person that I'm interacting with narrows down that search in my staircase, and then it gives me the next step. And then the same thing happens, and then I'm led to the next step, and then something else happens. So on and so forth, where I go down a line and I'm experiencing something very unique with this person, and based on what step I am in that journey, my, I guess, subconscious is then able to pull out the necessary information that I know but can't remember off the top of my head to give to you. So I feel like it was really important for me to share this staircase method with you, because you can use this for anything. You could use this in school. I've used this in school to help me not memorize but learn information. You don't necessarily have to you don't necessarily have to know everything, but you have to learn how to get the information that is already there, essentially. And if you're working really hard, for example, let's just take the student example. It doesn't have to be. If you're a student and you're in a class and you need to learn information, try not to do the memorization thing. Try not to be, like I said, knowing things off the top of your head, because there's just not enough space. There simply is not enough space for the here and now for something like that. Instead, develop a map in your head, okay? And in this map, there will be signs that are personal to you that will remind you of the next place to go. And from this point on, the information that is relevant to the question on a test, for example, will come to you in this way. And I mean, everyone has been a student at some point in their life, so I feel like that was a good example, but there's probably lots of people on my channel who are doing all kinds of other things. Perhaps they want to learn something like numerology or astrology. Perhaps they just want to learn how to cook, like recipes or literally anything in life. I highly recommend the staircase method. And that is how I've come to learn numerology. That is how I've come how to learn something like numerology, and how I am able to continue on the rest of my life developing this thing, because the staircase is an evolving staircase. It's always adding, editing, taking away things, putting things in, or just tweaking things a bit, perfecting it, but perfection is not the intention. Doing the right thing is the intention for me. And like I said, I really hope that whoever is meant to come across me and find my channel and find my practice does. And I think that's all I have to say for today. I think that's everything I had to go over regarding how I discovered numerology. I'm probably going to title this How I Became a Numerologist, but the thing is that it's really how numerology found me. Because that day with my cousin, I was not looking for numerology. And in fact, like I said, I was not really for it. So numerology really sought me out. And I'm so thankful for it, because it has given me a lens of perception that I could never have had without it. Numerology is actually really essential to my life, not only because of everything that I explained in this video, but because it's helping me write my book. the book that I never talk about in this channel. The book that is the same title as this channel, the book's called Metanoia, but it's still in such early phases that I haven't made any videos for it. But anyway, I love to write, and I love to write fiction, but the thing that I've always struggled with is writing characters. And so guess what's helping me write characters now? My understanding of numerology. Each part that I write, my book has 9 parts, and each part that I write, I use a number, I use a character state, and that helps me shape the person and the theme that I am pushing through in this universe that I've created. So that is yet another way numerology has helped me, and it may have even saved me, honestly. I don't know where I'd be without it right now. I also just want to quickly say that numerology is a very understudied field. I think astrology and all the other metaphysics get a lot more attention. I think people like it a lot, and they like reading about it, but I think that there's not much to be found about yourself out there. I think that compared to something like astrology, when you do your own numbers and you look up your own information, there's not nearly as much out there. For example, for the life path numbers, there's not nearly as much. And a lot of it is redundant. I've tried to do lots of research via online for numerology. There is a lot out there, but not nearly as much for tarot. Not nearly as much as there is in astrology. When I research those topics, it goes on and on and on, and every single article I read is like another layer. So, because numerology is not like this, I feel like I'm on a frontier. Every day that I'm doing this, I am learning this myself. It's not coming from books, it's coming from me. It's coming from my experiences, and whoever person decides to get a reading from me and then share their input. So that's also why I love numerology, though, because it's so exciting. It's something to discover, it's something to uncover, and that I have a lot of science in me, so that's the scientist in me, is the investigator in me is really excited about numerology because I think it has a lot of potential. I think there are truths that are hidden within it that we haven't discovered yet. So thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you so much for joining me on this journey. As I said in the beginning of the video, I'm going to try really hard to get to the other requested videos before the new year. But if I don't see you before then, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And thank you all again so much. And let me know if you have any other questions about what I said today. And let me know if you would like me to do a requested video that would be relevant to my channel. And thank you again, Kaylin, for requesting this video and caring about, how I got into this and my story. I appreciate it very much. So take care, guys, and I hope you have a lovely week.